started being able to predict and duplicate. If I wholesale 30 houses, I'll make this much money. If I rehab this many houses, I'll make that much money. If I buy this many rentals, I'll have that income. This is not right out of the gate. I'm talking within the first decade, I was able to wholesale and I was able to rehab. I started buying some commercial properties. I started buying rentals. But I was able to predict and duplicate. And that's how you actually build your financial freedom, where you don't have to wonder what's going to happen today. And am I going to make any money today? Yeah, you're going to make as much money as you want to make. So that leads me to the first con. How does a broke single mom fired from Denny's go on to become America's most sought after real estate investor? Well, that's why we have the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. Our motto for 26 is stack gold bricks in 26. I'm going to teach and share and bring you all kinds of great guests for season 8 in 2026. And we're going to learn how to stack gold bricks in 26. So you want money? We're going to get it. You want health and wisdom? We're going to get it. You want to learn everything there is to know about real estate investing? It's here. The most wonderful real estate podcast ever. Now on to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dawn Benton Twyford. I'm America's most sought after real estate investor. And I have such a good show for you today. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of being a real estate investor. I'm going to give you 5 pros. I'm going to give you 5 cons. We're going to see how we can structure this so you can take advantage of all the pros and not get caught up in all of the cons. So my name is Dawn Benton Twyford. I took my first name, Dawn, and wonderful, and made a new word. It's called Dwanderful. DWANDERFUL. So Dwanderful. Go to dwanderful.com. I want you to take my real estate investing quiz. It takes about 5 minutes. It's a really fun, simple quiz. At the end, you can order a strategy session at no cost to you whatsoever. And I personally will talk with you for 45 minutes and we'll strategize and see what we can do to get you rolling in the right direction. I have so many people that do the strategy session and they love it. And then with my help, they're able to start closing deals. And that's really the name of the game. I started as a broke single mom who'd been fired from Denny's. I went through a divorce when my daughter was 8 months old. I lost my house, my car, my credit cards got ran up. It was a very destitute, sad, just mind-blowing time for me in my life. But you know what? I took all that and I turned it around and I built myself a gigantic business. I've been podcasting for 8 years. You're in season 8. I've got almost 2 million downloads. My husband and I bought a town. We've done over 2,000 deals. Our kids, everyone in our family is in the business with us. So we have actually created some generational wealth here. Sorry, I turn that light out. It makes it too bright. I can't see. And we have started creating some generational wealth. And you know what? I want that for you. It's not that hard to do. I mean, I had no real estate license, no training. I'd never been an agent. I didn't know anything about anything. And I mean, I was fired from Denny's on third shift, 10 at night till 6 in the morning. Fired. And didn't even let me finish out my shift. Fired. So if I can do this, I promise you with the depths of my soul that you can do this as well. Okay? So I want you to have fun with me today. I always like I like to do pros and cons because some people are just like, oh, can't be that hard. And other people are like, oh my gosh, it's so complicated. There's no way I could possibly do this on my own. Yeah, you can. I promise you can. So let's start off on the pros. Let's start off on the good stuff. What are the pros? Well, the first one is you're working for yourself. Now, for me personally, having had many jobs in my 20s that didn't really pan out to anything. I mean, I was mostly a waitress or a bartender or something and worked at a health club in my 20s. I didn't really have a job that I was like, oh yeah, I could do this job, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So I had no experience, had no college degree, I had no kind of license. I had none of those things that some of you have right now. You've got degrees and education, and you know how to do paperwork and bookkeeping and accounting, and you know all kinds of great things. I didn't have any of that. I just had a desire that when my husband took off and my daughter was 8 months old, my whole thought was, I'm not raising my daughter in daycare. I waited till I was 30 to have a kid. I don't want to put her in the daycare system. I want to be the room mom and the homeroom mom and the field trip mom and the disco ball mom and the Girl Scout cookie mom. And, I wanted to do all those things. And now all of a sudden with a baby at 8 months old and no job skills, I was really stuck. I mean, I was in a really, really, really difficult situation. And I just decided, I'm just going to put on my big girl pants. I'm going to figure out I'm going to make this work because I want to raise my daughter. Now, there's no shame in daycare. I mean, I didn't use daycare, preschool, or anything. So there's no shame in that. A lot of people do. I get it. That's fine. But I don't know. I just really wanted to be like, have like a little buddy and dress her up and I guess sort of play house was my thought and do all the fun things. As my mom did all those fun things and my dad did all those fun things with me. So I wanted kind of the same thing. And I was able to make it happen, but I was only able to make it happen because I put on my big girl pants. I sucked up all my pride and my devastation. And I thought, I'm going to make this happen. So the number one thing is I want to work for myself. Now, I did not know what I wanted to do. In fact, Ayla was born in 88. So back in those days, there were a ton of, we had to use this thing called a newspaper. Some of you may not be familiar with it. It's a paper that you read, a handheld newspaper. No internet. Google came in 1998. So I'm a decade before Google and computers and everything that you guys just have, right there at your fingertips today. I didn't have any of that stuff. So jobs were in the classified section of the newspaper. So I would get on there and it was like, there's a meeting at this ballroom and meeting here and meeting there. And they were mostly MLM, multi-level marketing. It was so big in the 80s and 90s. And so I went to a bunch of those meetings and I thought, I could definitely see the value. Like, I'm not stupid. I could see the value. In fact, I think I sold the one, lose weight now, ask me how. Oh, it was one of those weight loss thingies. Yeah, I can't remember what it was right now. But anyway, I did all that stuff too. It was all fun. I liked it. It wasn't that thing, but I was like, the money's good, but you can't make it really fast. You got to know a million people. And I didn't have all that. So I wanted to work for myself. And as it turned out, I met some people that were rehabbers. And they said, well, we fix up cars and we fix up houses and then we sell them. So I thought, well, I don't know anything about cars, but houses, I'm a good decorator. I could decorate. How hard could it be to decorate and fix up a house? Well, unbeknownst to me, fixing up a house was not decorating. Fixing up a house was rehabbing. So I took the little bit of information that I had. I took a baby on my hip. I went down to the county courthouse in Palm Beach County. I hand wrote all the foreclosures. I used that big old map book, those big giant map books. Mapped the houses out, drove door to door, knocking on doors, baby hanging on my hip. I had to have been such a sight back then, but I still closed some deals. I made $22,000 on my first deal, and I was like, I'm never looking back from this. Because back then, $22,000 in a deal, like my dad had a great job and he was making like 18 grand a year, and I made $22,000 on one deal. So I was like, oh, I have arrived. I have $22,000 in the bank. This is the greatest day of my life. And then I just did another one, did another one. And now here I am 35 years later, doing deals, married, kids are doing it. We bought a town, just all kinds of fun stuff. So you get to work for yourself. And that was really the most important thing to me at that time, was to work for myself and control my hours so that when Ayla got in school and things, I could do all those fun things. So I would actually, until she started kindergarten, I would find a house. I would move into it because I couldn't afford to rent an apartment and have a house over here, and I was using credit cards. I was living on credit cards for the first year. Till after I closed that first deal, I was completely living on credit cards. And so I would move in, fix it up, recognize fixing up is rehabbing, not decorating. So I became a total regular at Home Depot. Back then, they taught all these classes live. So I'd go every day, every week, every weekend. I'd take every class they had. And I learned how to put in cabinets and sinks and toilets and lay tile. And Ayla would be sleeping at night, and I'd be making screens and screwing cabinets together. And I'd live in the rehab, fix it, sell it, move till she started kindergarten. By that time, I had a few deals under my belt. We were living in Boca Raton, Florida, which is like the bougie area. And I had rehabbed a house there. And I thought, well, this is a really beautiful house. It's got a great pool. The guy that owned it was a pool contractor. They had passed away. So I thought, I'm going to live in this house for a while I keep, building my rehab business. And then after a few years of rehabbing, I discovered wholesaling. Holy cow, wholesaling changed my entire life. But we're going to just talk about the pros for right now. So wholesaling changed my life. The second is you control your hours. Now, Ayla was little, husband was gone, so I didn't have to worry about daycare. I didn't have to worry about once I got that first deal, I worried about everything till that first deal. I ran up all my credit cards. Actually, my Home Depot card had the highest limit on it of all things. So I did that, got that one sold, had a little bit of money in the bank. I was like, okay, so what I would do is I'd be living in the rehab. So then I would fix up the master bed and bath first, and Ayla would stay in my room with me, and then I would just work on the rest of the house throughout the course of the day. Now, she's little, she's toddling around, so I used to buy her those little watercolor paint kits, and she'd paint on the walls, and she'd draw, and she had like the whole house to color and draw and be artistic, and just kept her busy. We had music on. We were always dancing and listening to music. She's drawing and I'm working and I'm rehabbing. But I was able to control my hours. And that was important because a lot of times in the morning we'd get up and we'd run down to the beach for an hour or so. We'd work for a few hours. Then we'd go for a bike ride. And this is when she's like 2 or 3. When she was 3, she would ride a bike. We'd ride bikes to the beach a mile each way. She's 3 years old, no training wheels. I like bike riding, so I taught her how really, really little. So she's just 3 years old, just riding a little bike. We go down to the beach and back. And then we go take a little picnic and maybe go to McDonald's and the playroom and take breaks. So I was able to control the hours. And then at night, when you have little kids, you put them to bed at like 8. And then I would stay up a couple extra hours and, like I said, build cabinets and put together screens and just get all my work laid out for the next day. So I was able to control my hours, which was really great because, I had a lot of friends at that time who were turning up single as well. And they're dropping their kids off at daycare or at school, and they're going to go work, and they're picking them up, and they're getting home at 6 or 7. They have time for like dinner and a bath. They put their kids to bed, and they're spending a couple hours a day with their kids. And I just didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to do that. And that was my motivation. I just did not want to do that. So I was able to control my hours. Now, the next pro is you're able to control your money. You can make as much money as you are willing to work for. So I did that first house. I made 22 grand. Ironically, I'm telling you, it was a blessing from God. I made 50 on my second deal. It was just a little rehab house. I didn't know anything about the area. I didn't know the area had gone up in value, and it was put into some kind of neighborhood. They made like historic or something. And I was flabbergasted. I thought, oh my gosh, I've got like 3 years of money in the bank right now. That is amazing. And I could have taken that time and just like ran around and hung out with Ayla. I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, keep going, keep going. So I was able to control my money. Now, I didn't hire anyone to help me with houses till my third house because the money from the second one, I found a couple guys that were, basic contractors, and they would help me do some of the basic stuff, like the heavier stuff that was hard on me. They put in the cabinets, they do some of the heavy stuff. And so by my third house, I was able to have a few guys help, which got me done faster. So then by the end of the third deal, I was able to have 2 houses going on. And Dwan, how are you affording all this? I was using hard money lenders. Hard money lenders. They're everywhere. It's still a giant industry. I was using a hard money lender. They lend you the money. It's interest only. And by the third house, I was able to make 2 mortgage payments because of that big second deal. And I'd work in both houses. I'd go back and forth. But what I started doing was running around getting the supplies and gathering all the things up that needed to be done because I don't need to be paying contractors to go to Home Depot and pick things out. I did all that stuff too. Still working, but still living in one and doing a second. And then I guess the fourth one would have been the one I stayed in for a while. But by then I'd done another couple deals. So now I had 2 rehabs and I could live someplace. So within the first 4 years, I was living in one and rehabbing 2. So I really hustled. I mean, I hustled. I worked a lot. I put a lot of hours in. But I was able to put a lot of hours in because I was living in the houses. I know some of you, that's not remotely possible. You've got a family, you've got kids, or a soccer mom or dad or whatever, and that's not remotely possible for you. But that's just how it worked out for me. So I was able to control the amount of money that I made because and the one I lived in, I stayed in it for a really, really long time. So I just always had 2 rehabs going. And then somewhere along the way, I got 3 rehabs going. And then I discovered wholesaling and I did 75 deals in 1 year wholesaling. And I was like, I'll never have to worry about money again as long as I live right now at this point. So I was able to control my money. And then I started thinking about, how do I help Ayla have money and started working on generational wealth. Now, I met Bill 10 years in. So when I married Bill, Ayla was 13. So I was a single mom from 8 months old till 13 doing deals, rehabbing houses. I opened up a REIA, R-E-I-A, Real Estate Investors Association. I opened up a REIA group because all the people there were bringing me deals. I was selling them deals. Like we had this whole giant, really great REIA. And I don't know, I just kept growing and building and growing and building. And then I thought I can start buying rentals. I can invest some money. I can start working on generational wealth. And the thing is, I'm from Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. Bill's from Iowa, Clinton, Iowa. And both of our families, we were raised very blue collar. His dad was a painter. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked for the power company. Just really nice, regular blue collar upbringing, 2.5 kids, a picket fence, a dog, all the stuff. And so nobody on my side and no one on Bill's side ever started the generational wealth. So, and this wasn't something right out of the gate. This was like 10 years in. After I meet Bill, we start buying more things, more rentals, storage, commercial. We just start buying things and we start working on generational wealth. So I'm very proud to say that my leg of my family and his leg of his family will actually be able to leave generational wealth to our kids and our families, our kids and our grandkids. We already have the grandkids involved too. They come and they paint and they help and they do things and they name all the rentals and they know that when they grow up, this will be theirs, this will be theirs, Now we're not going to hand them anything. They're going to work just like my kids did. They're going to work just like me and Bill did. Not here you go, Mimi's handing you a bunch of stuff because that's how you lose it because you give people stuff that they don't know how to take care of. But that's definitely not happening. But I was able to, over the first decade, just start really thinking about generational wealth. How do I get my family tree to have money? And how does that happen? Someone's got to be first. Someone just got to be first. So it was me and it was Bill. Hey, time for a 2-second public announcement. How would you like to have a 45-minute strategy session with me personally, and we can sit down and discuss, and no strings attached, what your real estate investing career can look like in 26 as we stack gold bricks in 26. Go to Dwanderful, DWANDERFUL, Dwanderful.com. Take my real estate investing quiz. Schedule a 45-minute strategy session with me personally, and let's see what we can do to get you going on the right track. Now, back to the show. Another pro is that you can duplicate and predict your business. So I know, let's just say you're going to be a rehabber and you're going to make $50,000 on a rehab. and you do 10 deals, you make 500 grand. Okay, let's just say you want to do two a deal and you make 50 grand, you make 100. Say you want to do 20, of course you're going to have team and people and stuff like that, but you can predict and duplicate your system. So when I started wholesaling, I wholesaled 75 houses the first year. Now, after that 1 year, and I made gobs. Remember our motto is stacking gold bricks in 26? I made gobs of bricks. I had so much money, I didn't know what to do with it. It was in shoe boxes, it was in the bank, it was in safety deposit boxes. I was buying rentals at that point. I was like, I don't know what to do. I've never had money. I didn't know how to handle it or do anything with it. So, you blow through stupid stuff, buy a car, buy a boat, you buy a bunch of dumb stuff. And, which, was all good. I worked my butt off. I deserved it. But then I started learning, okay, if I want to make this much money a year, how many deals do I want to do? And I realized that wholesaling 75 houses was really a super lot of work. So I basically had myself to like 30 to 50 deals a year I would wholesale. I would rehab one or two deals, and then I would keep a couple rentals. So I started being able to predict and duplicate. If I wholesale 30 houses, I'll make this much money. If I rehab this many houses, I'll make that much money. If I buy this many rentals, I'll have that income. So this is not right out of the gate. I'm talking within the first decade, I was able to wholesale and I was able to rehab. I started buying some commercial properties. I started buying rentals, but I was able to predict and duplicate. And that's how you actually build your financial freedom, where you don't have to wonder what's going to happen today. And am I going to make any money today? Yeah, you're going to make as much money as you want to make. So that leads me to the first con. Can you stay self-motivated? That is a big problem. People are like, oh, I'm going to get up every day. I'm going to mail postcards. I'm going to door knock. I'm going to go out and look for deals. I'm going to do. And then like it rains and you're like, oh, I don't want to get wet. Or it snows. Oh, it's too cold to go. Or, oh, it's 100 in Florida. It's 110 degrees out. I don't want to go. And you find all kinds of reasons to not do things. So, as a major con, if you cannot stay self-motivated, this is definitely not for you. No one's going to hand you deals. No one's going to come begging to you. You're going to have to lay out a business plan, lay out your financial goals, and you're going to have to make it happen. Now, I will tell you one thing about me. Every time I would close like a big deal, I would always want to like take a little short vacation, like go to Disney for 4 or 5 days and take Ayla with me. We went to Disney like 8 times a year. And then after a while, it's like, listen, every time I close a deal, I can't just keep taking off for like a week because you lose some of your motivation because you take off and you keep doing that. So I finally had to be like, okay, I gotta limit that down a little bit. But in the beginning, it was so exciting. I was like, I can do everything. And so can you stay self-motivated? And there were times, I'll be honest, that I didn't feel like it, or I was sick, or Ayla was sick, or I thought, I got a lot of money in the bank right now. I could just take a couple years off. I'm working my tail off. I've never had the money to just take time off and not have to worry about my bills. So there was a few times I'd take a few months here and there, but then when you get back and you start again, you're starting over from scratch all the time. So I realized that's not going to work for me. So, can you stay self-motivated? Another giant con is people don't have enough education. Right now, with Google being what it is, you can Google everybody. You can watch webinars every day. You can go to unlimited training classes. You can have so much information at your fingertips. But here's the problem. You get stuck in the shiny object syndrome. Oh, I was on Dwan's webinar. She's got this gold mine program. I'm going to buy that. Oh, I was on this one. I'm going to buy that. Oh, I'm going to take a little bit of each of these. I'm going to make my own wheel. I'm going to reinvent the wheel. So I had no, I mean, I'm telling you, zero. It is literally by the grace of God. I had zero education. The people I knew gave me a sales contract with some X's, had people sign here. I didn't know how to do a sales contract. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I'm telling you, man, it's like it's the grace of God for sure that did that. And I didn't have the education because again, in the early 90s, there were no internet, there was no training, there was no Google, there was a few people like Tommy Vu, I remember, and somebody coming through town with these giant seminars, and I went to a couple of those. I thought, ooh, I don't want to learn from those people. I was going to figure it out on my own. So luckily, I was smart enough to be able to figure things out on my own, but not with the help of the people I knew, Home Depot, and really just having the motivation to make this work because I really wanted to give Ayla a great life, and I deserved a great life too. I'm like, you know what? I want a great life for myself. I deserve as good a life as anybody else. I want to have a great life. So I did not have enough education. I was lucky in the fact I was able to wing it and learn. And I wrote everything down. I started writing little training programs way in the beginning. I wrote the very first short sale program for real estate investors in the whole country and trademarked the term short sales as it applies to real estate investing. Little 50-page program. I started writing all my wholesaling, writing all my notes down. And when I opened up my little real estate investing group, I said, hey, listen, I don't know a lot, but I know about short sales. I know about wholesaling. I know about rehabbing. So let me teach you what I know. Let's put our heads together and let's try and blow up South Florida. Now, I would tell you, please, I beg you for the love of God, get some information. So all you have to do is just find someone that you feel like your moral compass aligns with theirs. You know me, I am a complete open book. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. I've been on TV, I've been on the news, I'm an expert celebrity guest, I've done all the stuff like that. But I care about people, and I genuinely want you to be successful. So if you're like, well, I don't really know who to work with yet, you're looking at it right here. Work with me. I will not let you down. I will not let you fall through the cracks. Go to my website, dwanderful.com. Take my quiz, book a schedule. We'll have a 45-minute strategy call. And we'll talk about what you're doing. And I promise you, no strings attached, I'll help you set you on the right path. So please get some education. I am begging you, because when you don't know what you're doing, you're actually hurting the homeowner, and they're relying on you because they are losing their most prized possession. They're losing their house to foreclosure. So you must learn what to do. Okay, now another con is people, this is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. You buy some kind of fancy system where you can enter all your information, enter all your data, and you act busy. Well, I entered properties, I mapped things out today, I did follow-up calls. You act busy, but you're not getting anywhere. That busyness is just to make you feel better about yourself. Let me tell you something. Because all of these whatever programs people have out there now helps you track deals and stuff, none of that stuff existed. You know what I use to this day? Excel. I learned how to use Excel spreadsheet. I've been using it for 30 years. It was simple. There was no other options. And I've seen people selling all these different things. Enter here, automatic follow-ups, da. Honey, you got Excel and you got a Google Calendar. You don't need a bunch of fancy stuff, because all that does is makes you think you're busy. It feels like busy work. And so because it feels like busy work, then you're like, oh, I worked really hard today. I spent 3 hours inputting data. Really? Did that make you any money? Stop doing that. It's a waste of time. Okay? Stop acting busy. It's also the next con is it is easy for something to happen and give you a setback. Maybe you were going to rehab a house and it went over budget and over time and kind of left you with a bad taste in your mouth. Or maybe you were going to wholesale a deal and at the last second, the wholesale fell apart like at the closing table. You don't think that's ever happened to me? Like right at the closing table? Hundreds of times. Stuff happens. So you get a little bit of a setback and then you're like, oh, I don't really know if this is for me anymore. I got a setback. This happened, that happened. You're all full of self-pity and stuff. Stop that too. Stop doing that. If you have a degree, you can't tell me at any point in that entire time you were going to college and trying to work and pay for things, you didn't have any setbacks in your life. You know what setback I had? I had an 8-month-old daughter and my husband took off and I lost my house and my car. That's a setback. And you know what? I still put on my big girl panties and I still made it happen. So it's easy to get one little setback and be like, oh, this doesn't work. And then the fifth con, and this is really common, so hear me. It takes too long. You're like, hey, I invested in Juan's trifecta. I'm going to close a deal in 30 days. And then you don't close it in 30 or 60 or 90. Like, it's taking too long. It doesn't work. And you give up too easy. For the love of God, people, stop giving up so easy all the time. If being super success and wealthy was super easy, everybody would do it. Okay? So just don't let it take too long. I don't care if it takes you 6 months to close your first deal. Something in your brain switches. And when you close that first deal, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I see the light. It happens. Just that easy. So if you take 6 months to close a deal, don't get frustrated. Don't talk yourself out. Don't say this doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't want to hear any of that. I've had all kinds of deals fall apart. I've had all kinds of stuff happen to me. And other people, I've got a student, Brian, he was on one of my webinars and invested in the system. And 9 days later, closed the deal for 20 grand. I was like, how the heck did you do that so fast? It's your first deal. He's like, well, I called one person on a Craigslist. I found a deal. I called one person as a rehabber, found a deal. I called the bank one time and got a short sale on the first deal. They said, okay, I closed in 9 days. I made 20 grand. A week later, I made 17. It was like, that's what I'm talking about. So if it takes a month or 2 or 3, keep going. Once you get it forever. Okay? So do the pros outweigh the cons? Well, I don't know. I've been doing it 35 years. I have multiple houses. I have generational wealth. I have a beautiful family. I have grandkids. I have a great husband. We're rehabbing an entire town, providing jobs and income for people. So yes, I say it is 10,000,000% to infinity and back twice worth it. Just go in with your eyes open. Be realistic. Don't expect everything to fall in your lap. I mean, it's funny because when I first started, I went door knocking. I mapped out 100 houses. And I said, I'm going to door knock all 100 of these people. And if no one works with me, I'm going to find something else. And it was like the house number 92. So I had no's for like 3 weeks. Nope, 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 nope. I was getting discouraged, but I thought, nope. I made a plan. And when I got down into the last couple, I got a deal. I made 22 grand. End of story. So it was taking long because I was living on credit cards. And some of you, I'm sure, are not in that kind of a situation. And if you are, go for it. I did it. What the heck? If I can do it, you can do it. I promise you that. There's nothing special about me except I stuck to it. I was motivated. I had a kid I wanted to raise. I wanted to have a good life. I wanted to have money. I wanted to have a house. I wanted to have a car. I wanted to have a boat. I live in Florida. I wanted to live on the water. And I made all that happen. And that was God and motivation. Not letting anything get in my way because I had too much to risk. I didn't want to move back to Ohio and live in my parents' bedroom. I didn't want to raise my kid in daycare. I didn't want to live in a poor part of town. I don't know. I just made it happen. I took no BS, no excuses, no nothing. Okay? Now you have the pros and the cons. So now it's up to you. What are you going to do next? Okay, leave a 5-star review. Share, like. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letters. All right, I'm looking forward to talking to you next week. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. Don't forget to go to dwanderful.com, take the quiz, schedule a strategy session, watch all the podcasts, and be a part of this year. This is a really important year. We're stacking bricks in 26, and I want to help you stack as many gold bricks as you possibly can. That's only going to happen if you subscribe, leave 5-star reviews, stay tuned, share, and just let everybody know about the wonderful world of Dwanderful. And I'll see you next week.